welcome to the very first episode of the Amazon Connect podcast. We are your hosts, Mark Radowski and Doug Park. Mark, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hey, everybody. Mark Rutkowski. I'm a principal product manager with Amazon Connect. I've been here since 2016, and the majority of that has been with Connect since we launched it in 2017.
Yeah, you're an old dog. I don't quite go back that far.
Well,
I go back
well,
27.
yeah, you're not that much younger.
True enough. True enough. So I go back to 2017. I was the first solution architect here in APJ, specifically in Australia, as you can probably tell by the accent. And yeah, I'm a Connect lifer. It may not be particularly popular at AWS to stay in the one role for so long, but I love it. I can't
Yeah,
get enough of it. This is
yeah,
the best place to be. So why change?
yeah. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, and it's a good location to be too, right? I mean, you're in terms of that, and I was there a couple of weeks ago, and it's sweltering here in the U.S. now, and it's down south. It's rather
It's very pleasant.
nice
Very
weather,
pleasant.
very pleasant, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. But
sweatshirt weather as I would call it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no. But I was over in the States recently. I was over in Atlanta. Lovely weather there. So yeah,
Hmm.
super cool. But
Yeah,
people want to hear about what we're doing. So what
yeah,
we're doing is we're making a podcast, aren't we, Mark?
we
Um,
are.
and there's two reasons for that. One is to educate people generally about Amazon Connect. There's already plenty of information around, but nothing specific
Hmm.
in podcast form. Although I know Simon Alicia over on the AWS podcast is he's a big fan of Connect and regularly
Hmm.
does the odd
Hmm.
spot on it. But he's covering well over 200 different services with all their
Yeah.
different releases and all the rest of it. So
Hmm.
you can only cover so much. And there's nothing that's been around that gives regular updates of new features for existing customers. And
Hmm.
I don't know about you, Mark, but I hear from customers all the time. I don't. You've released something I didn't
Yeah.
even hear about it. I didn't even know that was
Right.
there. Like you guys are
Yes.
releasing too much.
You know
So
what? Sometimes I'm in that boat too.
uh,
Right? Right? There's so much going on, and we're busy running around, and
well,
it's great that I think this might be even good for our own education time to time. And
that's that's very true. It's the worst and the best feeling when a customer calls you up and says, "Hey, can you tell me about this new feature you've just released?"
Mhm.
And it's a
Yeah,
complete shock to me.
exactly.
Okay, so yeah, and the number of releases is thick and fast. Well over
Mm,
200 last year,
mhm,
and I like to point out to customers, and when I'm talking to anyone about Amazon Connect, that that it is. I mean, people talk about a rocket ship, but I like to think of it as getting on a train leaving the station. Like if you decide
mhm,
today that you're going to go with Amazon Connect, by the time you go live, there's
mhm.
a fair chance we've released at least 50 features in that time. Like this is
Probably.
not
Yeah,
a, a
yeah.
point in time decision. This is
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
your future
Yeah.
self will thank you for all that you're about to get.
Exactly. Well, and I mean, particularly if you decide to launch just before reInvent, right? Like that is, as I like to say, it's like, Christmas at AWS,
That will
right? In
twist your
terms of,
mind, actually, what happens
yes,
there.
yes, yes.
So we don't want to take up too much of people's time because the idea is that you might want to listen to this when you're driving into work or you're exercising. Just get
Mhm.
up to speed. We're going to release them every couple of weeks.
Yep.
Or if something big happens, I think we might do special
Yeah.
episodes.
My special ups for sure, right? I definitely
The,
think we can be trendy, right? Like that's the
we can
key,
be
right?
trendy. Yeah.
We want to be trendy here.
Give the people what they want.
That's right.
And
Exactly.
I would love to start getting in interviews with some people, both from the field
Yeah.
and, of course, the service team, because
Yeah.
not only are we diverse in terms of our location, Mark, but also we're diverse
Hmm.
in terms of where we stand in relation to the product. Because you're on the service team, you're actually part
I
of
am
the
on the
team that makes
project.
the product.
Yes. Exactly. Right. So what we will definitely find some wonderful peers of mine to participate in
Yeah,
our wonderful podcast here for sure.
yeah, awesome. So, with that welcome out of the way and the podcast overview out of the way, do you want to have a crack at giving just a brief explanation for brand new listeners of what Amazon Connect is?
Sure. Yeah. So Amazon Connect, that is essentially our unified AI power set of capabilities, right? That we have across, all channels, right? So voice, chat, analytics, agent assist, and particularly around the AI side. We just recently, released this. More or less think of this as like an all-you-can-eat model, right,
Mm,
with AI. Because one of the challenges that we often hear from our customers is like, there's all these great AI capabilities. How do you make this easier for me to adopt this and start to scale this across, right? Particularly in the contact center, right? When you're, everything from self-service to agent assist to, the great analytics that you get, from AI. It's how do you leverage that? And we've been doing this since 2017, right? And so that's a big part of this is the fact that we've had these in Connect for a long time, but now we want to make it even easier for you to start to leverage those and do it in a way that's much more cost efficient. The goal is for you to really try to consume all of the services, but this approach that one is we're trying to make it easier from a default perspective to adopt our services, but then secondarily do it in a way that is best from a cost savings perspective for you, and leveraging
And
that and really allowing you to apply that.
can I be uh, vocally self-critical of all of
Sure,
us,
totally.
and say what I love about this is we are staying true to one of our tenets that we'd kind of moved away from, which is we don't
Mm-hmm.
want to nickel and dime customers because
100%.
our,
100%.
our, our pricing was starting to get to a point where we'd released so many features, and some of those were incurred a cost to the customer.
Yeah. Hmm.
And it got to the point where customers would say, "So if I turned all this on, could you help me work out what I'd be charged?" And it was a
Right.
challenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Yep.
and I think what we've done here is we've said actually one of our tenets is we won't nickel and dime. You pay the
Hmm.
price, you get all of
Yep.
this, and you just
Yes.
start using it. And I love that.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Yeah, and it's in your best interest, right, to adopt, these set of services, because that is where you get the most value, right, is when you
Mm.
start to consume these end to end. When you start from the end customer, going all the way to the supervisor, right? And that's where you're going to see the most value.
Yep.
And that's, when you start to try to pick these apart, right? That's when it gets challenging from that perspective. So it's
And
it's really a huge,
yeah,
huge
it's a
beneficiary
huge
for our customers.
huge benefit. And I don't think I'm overstepping when I say several of my customers have seen their bill reduced. Because
Hmm.
if you were consuming all the separate AI services, it stacked up to
Yes.
more than the cost of the all-you-can-eat model.
Right.
So
Yes.
the unlimited
100%.
AI, it's fantastic.
100%.
All right,
100%.
we probably let the people know we've evangelized that one enough.
We have.
I
I
think
think
I
we
think
beat
they
that
can
one
tell we're
pretty
fans.
well.
Now I want to talk about
Yes.
because you brought up generative AI there, and I want to talk about
Yeah.
our overarching sort of because everyone talks about generative AI. I mean, other
Yes.
players
Yeah.
in this space
It
talk about
is.
generative AI like
It's. I think
it's
every customer, it's like the first.
yeah,
What are you doing with agents, right? What's your agentic strategy?
yep, 100%.
And yeah.
And so the where I like to begin with talking to people about this is first of all, AWS generally has chosen to be the grown-ups in this space.
Hmm.
We're not here to
Yes.
help your kids cheat on their essays for school or anything like
Right.
that. We're here to
Right.
do it
Hmm.
securely. We're here to do it so it
Exactly.
doesn't hallucinate. So there's guardrails, and
Yes.
critically, and this is the thing. This is where it ties directly into Amazon Connect.
Hmm.
It delivers business value. It's not just a
Right.
FOMO. We need generative AI in here somehow.
Exactly.
Like I bought
Yes.
a rice cooker
100%.
the other day, a new one to replace my old one, and believe it
Hmm.
or not, it is AI powered according to the sticker on the front. It's generative AI
Really,
rice cooker.
really.
So that strikes me as a little bit of a stretch, but I was
Okay.
happy with
Okay.
fuzzy logic, but now we've moved to
Okay.
AI cook rice cooker. But
And how has
whereas
that worked? Has it hallucinated yet?
it's not, no, I've got rice every time at this point.
Okay, good. That's a good start.
But the the business value in Connect though, and this is really popular when I talk to other parts of AWS, where they
Hmm.
other sellers who just have general accounts, and they're saying, oh my customer wants to hear about generative AI, that
Yeah.
we can actually give them business value straight up. And so the three
Hmm.
I'm going to talk about real quick, the contact summarization. That is
Yeah.
something where, I mean, even if you do nothing else, there's a straight line to agent productivity gains in that they're not
Hmm.
wasting their time taking notes at the end of the call.
Right.
However, on top of that, though, the value you're getting out of now knowing what's happening on every single call, being
Hmm.
able to say to the C-level executive, would you like to know exactly what our top spend customers are saying to us? Would you
Hmm.
like to know what people, are saying about this product? Hey, you gave $10,000 to the marketing team.
Hmm.
Is anyone talking about their marketing campaign?
Yeah.
Like that is
Yeah.
the second then, of course, is the agent side, which is the generative AI agent evaluations, where
Mhm.
all of a sudden, I mean, you may go to the product team and say, "Hey, customers want you to fix this," and the product team says, "Hey, I've got a 12-month backlog.
Mhm.
Go whistle." Or the marketing team says, "I don't care. I'm sending out that marketing campaign anyway. You deal with
Mhm.
the huge
Mhm.
volume." But in the
Yep.
contact center, what you can focus on is agent quality. And if you think about
Mhm.
right now, agent quality is at such a low sample size for every
Mhm.
contact center on the two
Yeah.
calls per agent per month. I'll be
Yep.
generous. You might be doing two calls per
Right.
agent per week,
Right. Right. Yeah.
and
Yep.
your chance of finding a some kind of process error or skills gap is really really low just in
I mean,
that
it's
segment.
like you got multiple piles of hay, right? And you're trying to find that one pin,
Yeah, the one pin.
right?
Well,
That right?
and so let us find the pins. That's exactly it.
Yes.
We'll do the
Yes.
listening, and I think
Yes.
it's inspiring as well for the quality teams I talk to. There's the occasional one who looks at it and goes, "Oh, is this my job going?" But most of them look at it and go, "Thank goodness I'm not having to spend my time just listening to calls. I spend all
Yeah.
my time trying to find the call, trying to listen
Yep.
for the right thing, and then and basically doing a tick sheet, and that's my day. There's
Yeah.
no agent quality coming out, improvement coming out the other side. So now
Well,
we're saying,
you can almost look at that as like a curve, right? Like as as you're going through that day, you know that quality is just going down,
yep,
right?
that's it. That's
100%.
it. So
Yeah.
I mean that's and so I think that the putting that power in the hands of customers, and I've had 3 customers in the last 2 weeks who were existing Amazon Connect customers who I've helped set that up. And
Hmm.
really, there's no these things. And when I talk about business value, these are on with the tick box, as you know, Mark.
Yeah.
There's no
Hmm.
Lambda function. There's no build. There's
Right.
no
Right.
code. You just start
Right.
asking the questions, turn on the
Yep.
automation, and it starts
Yep.
going. And then it's just
Exactly.
an iterative process. I
Hmm.
mean, one of those customers even realized that their quality management, it kind of informed their whole process because they realized they were indexing way too much on the agent greeting. I was like
Hmm.
5 questions on,
Hmm.
did the agent answer with a smile on their voice? Did they say these exact words? And they
Right.
came to the conclusion that like the customer doesn't actually care that much about the agent greeting. The customer cares
Hmm.
about whether they got what they wanted on the call. And
Right.
so the AI it's not like the AI told them to do better. It's just by looking at the data now, they're going, well, why are we actually that concerned about
Hmm.
the agent greeting? Like we should be
Yeah.
finding out, did this solve
Yeah.
the customer's problem? Did we inform them correctly? Did we cross sell? Did we, all
Yeah.
these kinds of
Hmm.
things?
Hmm. Hmm. Well, and to your point, like it goes, there's an element of obviously getting better visibility what your agents are doing, but it's also getting how to, one of the biggest things we get is like, how do I make my self-service experience better?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So it never gets to the agent to begin with, right? And you've got to
100%.
start your journey somewhere, and that's a great point to start that journey, right? Because that
And
is start give you those insights.
you've segued us perfectly to the last one, and maybe you want to talk
Yeah,
about that, which is the Q and Connect self-service.
yeah, yeah. So with Q and Connect, so when we talk about how we solve an issue for an end customer, right? We look at it as it begins in the IVR, and you may get through 10% of solving the problem, you may get through 50%, you may get through 90%. Right. And as you go through that journey and you then, hand it over to the agent, we want to, you want to continue the context of that conversation. You want to ensure that all of that gets to the agent so that they can solve it,
Mm.
as quickly as possible. Understand, like, because it's all about context, right?
Yep.
Like that is right. And if you lose that context anywhere along that customer journey, you're starting over,
Yep.
right? And that immediately leads to a bad customer experience.
And wait on the
And
agent. The agent now
yep.
is just flying blind.
Hmm. Yeah,
Just
exactly.
okay. Call drops in. Who are you?
Yep.
What can I do for you? And it's back to
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly, exactly. So, and when we look at how to guide a customer through, solving an issue, Q and Connect is great with that, along with our step-by-step guides capability, right?
yeah,
And so when you bring the two of those together, you really get a rich framework that allows you, to provide, to bring a customer through that journey of solving a problem. And then, and if you're not able to solve it from a self-service perspective, you're giving all that context to the agent and they're doing the same thing,
yeah,
right? And that's one of the key value propositions, with Connect is in the same way you would enable it in that self-service experience, you're enabling it for the agent, and that continuity is super important because
yeah.
if you don't have that continuity, it's going to be it just it creates a lot of overhead, right? That
And from a
that ultimately is
branding
going to
perspective, being able to have complete control over the prompt as well. I mean,
totally.
I don't know about you, but I learned more about prompt engineering from
Hmm.
looking at our Q and Connect prompt than I did from all
Yes.
my AI training
Right.
and research and all that kind of thing
Yes.
and all the other stuff.
Yes.
I was like, oh, so
Yeah.
this is how you do a prompt. And
Right.
being able to then change that persona. I mean, I've got a standard demo I do where it goes from being a very sober bot to being quite a cheeky,
Right.
silly bot or whatever. But like,
Of course.
but
Yes. Yeah.
it's just to demonstrate the it's in your hands how this bot
Hmm.
behaves. All the
Totally.
guardrails, which documents it's looking at, and all, and so too with the information that's recommended to the agent. And
Mhm.
even more interesting to me was, and again, I'm learning every day. but the concept of the pre-processing prompt and the
Hmm.
generation prompt. So the
Yes.
processing prompt you could just use by itself, which is
Yeah.
I want to better understand what the customer's asking
Yes.
because and
Totally.
I spend a lot of time working public sector these days where they really oftentimes they say we're not going to trust a generated answer. We want
Hmm.
legal and whoever to go through these 200 things we're prepared to say to a caller. But
Right.
generative AI, choose from what the customer's asked, choose which of these 200
Hmm.
things is the
Hmm.
best one to read back. So you can,
Exactly.
as wherever your level of comfort is, you
Hmm.
can find it there. Now
Exactly.
we've
Well, and
probably oh go on, Mark.
no, I was going to say, and this is where you sort of mentioned the sort of the more generalized LLMs, and the point of Q and Connect is it's optimized for the contact center. Like
Yeah,
that's what it's built for, right?
yes,
Like that
yes,
is why we have it, right? It's we're trying to get you to there as fast as possible from an out of the box perspective, and it's built for the contact center use cases. Right, like that's what it is, right? So you could start with a, I mean, if you want to start with a general LM, go ahead, but like you got to do a ton of heavy lifting to get there, right? And so that's the goal, right? Like we're trying to remove that for you so you just can go a lot faster,
that is a
which you
great
just
call
which
out.
you just talked through, right?
And we should just come back to that because again we talk about you can have an instance of Amazon Connect in 5 minutes, which you can. You got a
Yeah.
phone number,
Hmm.
you jump on
Yep.
the console, and it's not a cut down light version or a demo version. It's a
Mm-mm.
full
Mm-mm.
production ready, written to
Hmm.
all three availability zones in the region you're in, all the rest of it
Yep.
with
Yep.
agent desktop all ready to go.
Hmm.
Within another 10 minutes, you can have a Q and Connect bot set up. Like that
Exactly.
is self-service and agent
Hmm.
assist with your,
Yep.
whichever documents you pointed it to. So this is within half an hour. You can be summarizing, you can be doing all these things we're talking about. So none of this requires coding. None of this requires
Right.
leaving Connect. You're
Exactly.
you're in your little instance. You don't even have to have access once it's enabled to the
Hmm.
AWS console.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just
So
amazing. So we don't want to take up too much more time. I want to
no,
go
we don't.
through a couple of new items, but I do want to
Okay.
give you a chance to talk about your pet topic, which is what I will give it the acronym SCCAC,
Sure.
and just because I think that maybe I feel as though that might have got overshadowed a little bit around reInvent and Dreamforce and some of that, just by a lot of the other stuff
Yeah.
that came out.
Sure. Yeah, no, totally. And we've been working closely, super closely with Salesforce, right? We've been a strategic partner with them. I mean, we built the CTI adapter but when we launched Connect back in 2017.
Yeah.
In 2020, we launched Service Cloud Voice. We are by far the largest contact center that uses, that customers use, right,
Hmm.
with Salesforce as
Yeah.
part of SCV. We have well over 1,000 customers, well over 100,000 agents, right, that use it today. So we've had massive success with it. It was great. The challenge we had was particularly Connect customers. They were like, I need more Connect features in
Yeah,
Salesforce,
it was
right?
it
How
was
do we
quite
go faster?
prescriptive about what Service
Yes,
Cloud Voice worked this way,
yes,
and you need to
yes.
work that way if you want to use
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
exactly. Right. I mean, and so what we released and we had a beta last year, just before reInvent last year, and then we basically did preview at reInvent, and we finally got to GA in March, which
Hmm.
was we launched a GA of SCCAC, the Salesforce Contact Center with Amazon Connect. I love our branding. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we'll talk about naming docs at later point, but yeah. The but basically, we've worked closely with Salesforce around that, and the great thing with that is it's a package that we've developed that installs on top of SCV. I like to call SCV kind of the new CTI, right? So it's the same model that we had with CTI in terms of building a package on top of Salesforce, core APIs,
Yeah.
except now with SCV, it's a much richer set of APIs that we have there and enable that. And so now
So
that we've
so
got
can you
this,
talk about that
yeah,
a bit more in terms of
sure,
for customers who are already on SCV, is it a big
yes.
lift to get to SCCAC?
No, the great thing with that is the fact that it's our package is part of the SCV install process. So once you install SCV, within a few clicks you can turn on essentially the SCCAC package. You don't even have to go to the App Exchange to download it. It's seamlessly sets up through that
Yeah, that's
process as
amazing.
well. And yeah, so we've done a lot of work. We're going to continue to improve it, right, in terms
Hmm.
of that setup experience. And essentially what these core the core set of features that you'll initially get, I'm going to call this the foundational release, that we did, as a GA back in March. You
Yeah.
can expect that we're going to continue to iterate and add more Connect features, as we go forward. But in this first release, we essentially were the first contact center to implement what Salesforce calls bring your own chat, BYOC.
Hmm.
So in addition to getting our native telephony capabilities in SCV, you now get also, our chat, and not only through Connect, so not only can you use Connect voice and chat, but now it's actually deeply integrated into Salesforce's chat UX.
Yeah,
So
right.
if you use right, so if you look at Salesforce chat today and your agents were using that, and then you moved over to, essentially our chat, it would look the same. You wouldn't notice any difference, right,
Yeah,
from
and
that
that's
perspective, because which is huge, right? Like
and I
that's
think
that you have.
the
Yeah,
Salesforce desktop, the omni-channel desktop, is a really good desktop.
yeah,
And there's a lot of
totally.
customers who are invested and really like
Yes,
using it. And one
exactly.
of the strengths of Amazon Connect and AWS generally, and Amazon Connect in particular, is we're egoless when it comes to this. If that desktop works for
Yes,
you and you want to, we support that. We're not going to, because historically contact center players have been very big on that. We must have the desktop. It must be
right.
ours.
Hmm,
So
hmm.
whatever works for you, and the
Yeah,
idea
we,
that
we
you,
we call that meet the agent where they're at,
yeah,
right?
one
So
hundred
like
percent,
that's right. So whether you're using, your CRM as a unified experience, whether you want to use our agent workspace or you've built your own,
yep,
right? Like you have full flexibility around that, and to your point, Doug, like that's hugely advantageous, right? And we actually have some customers that do all the above, right? In
and
our larger, most complex, customers.
100%. And I think the we skipped over the most important point that you made, or I mean,
Yeah,
you made it, but I'm going to go back to it, and because it
sure,
bears
yeah,
repeating. Single routing engine, single reporting engine. That's what you're
yes,
getting. If you've got the chat and the voice all in the one spot, and as we know, and as probably anyone who's interested in listening to this podcast knows, the most important thing in the contact center, even more important than routing, is
hmm,
reporting. That's what
yes,
that's what they run on. They
yep,
live on their
hmm,
reporting. And
yeah,
so
100%,
having
100%,
disparate engines, we all know the
hmm,
issue. We've all lived
exactly.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, and so, we have this great integration with Salesforce, and now let's rewind even back to earlier in the podcast where we talked about unlimited AI,
Yes.
right? Like that, like you can leverage the two of those together, right? So now you're getting, all the powerful capabilities of Connect, and you're getting, the richness and the choice and the capabilities of Salesforce all pulled together,
Yeah.
right? And
And
that's hugely differentiating,
and
from that
I
perspective, man.
think we all often talk at AWS about removing the undifferentiated heavy lifting. And with
Yes.
Connect, that's about not having to worry about carriage, SBCs, hardware, software, licensing.
Right.
You just need to
Hmm.
think about what do I want to happen when Mark contacts my contact center?
Yeah.
What I want that
Yeah.
experience to be.
Yeah.
And what Salesforce have done and what this integration's done is it's now taken away the massive undifferentiated heavy lifting that is integration. So
Yes.
integration's
Exactly.
gone. So day one, you're integrated with your data. It's not, oh,
Yep.
that's something we'll do at phase two. It's like we're
Exactly.
ready to go today with,
Exactly. Yeah, totally.
great
And what I'll
experiences.
say is like watch the space carefully, right? Like we're moving fast. Salesforce is moving fast, right?
Yeah,
So I mean, we're working very closely with them, right? In terms of continuing to give customer choice, across, our agentic, set of capabilities, right? And
yeah,
so,
and that's
and we won't have time in this podcast, but that's definitely a future topic, right? That we'll
yeah. I
turn
think
to, and
we might even do a
because I think
special episode. This one's so
exactly
big
on that one, yes,
because we
yeah,
haven't even touched on things like Novasonic, the
right,
new speech to speech
totally.
LLM that's going to have a massive impact. But I think we'll hold that
Yeah.
back till it's
I mean,
actually
every
available
customer
natively
we
through.
play, we do that Novasonic demo to, they're like, I want that.
I did it twice yesterday.
Right.
Twice
Yes.
yesterday.
Right. Yes. It's like when can I have that? Right. Like
And,
and it's like it's coming.
I'm famous for refusing to lead with demos, because
Right.
I believe it's important to get the messaging right, to get the story right, and get people thinking about
Yes.
the way we think about contact center and customer experience and all those
Yes.
kinds of things. And then at the end, I might demo some stuff. With this Novasonic demo, it's almost like just don't bother talking, just do the demo,
Right.
and
Right.
everyone gets it.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly.
So
Exactly.
we will
So
talk about that. I'm just
totally.
looking through some of the recent releases. Um, Important to remind everyone that the analytics data lake exists. A
Yeah.
lot of customers, I think, probably are not, well, at least in my patch, are not leveraging that quite as strongly as they should, because
Yeah.
I think it will, being able to surface all the information and data that's being generated by contact lens and all these kinds of
Right.
things
Hmm,
as part
hmm,
of using in
hmm.
your business intelligence tools,
Yeah.
enriching your view of
Yeah.
the customer, And again,
Well,
that's another one. Yeah, go on.
and same thing, right? Like, I mean, a lot of customers have invested in certain reporting platforms,
Yeah,
right? And the ease at
100%.
which now they can point to, I remember the old days stuck, right?
Mm,
Way
yeah.
back when you had to go build your own data
When
lake
we had hair,
in
Mark.
that's right, exactly. And you had to build it, and so now that's so much easier now, right?
Oh,
I mean,
I
it's
think similar to the unlimited AI with the pricing. I think we
yeah,
had, or not quite sleepwalked, but we had over time made an operational job for our customers to keep up
yeah,
with all the streams, feeds,
totally.
files, that are
Hmm.
sitting in
Yes.
S3, Kinesis, this, like, just to make sure it's all, even just to make sure you're getting it all was
I'm
a,
sure we can dig out an old PowerPoint
yeah,
diagram
yeah.
that
So,
that we
so
used to
just,
show. Yeah.
just removing that, standardizing, here's some tools to, that you can easily access all this format data in an understandable format. Yeah, no, it's
Exactly.
amazing.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
the dashboards have been enhanced. I'm yet to find a customer who is fully across all the things the dashboards can do
Hmm.
because we just didn't push it enough. There's
Yeah.
even a
Yep.
very strange UI choice. Again, I'm prepared to be slightly cheeky with that, where
Uh-huh.
so two of our dashboards are hidden under, reveal two more dashboards under there's
Right.
a little, you actually got to click it so they can,
It's called an Easter egg.
yeah, exactly. Like, why are we hiding our light under this particular bushel? I don't
Yes.
know,
Yes. Yes.
but yeah. So there's five or even six dashboards now.
Yeah.
There's always improvements to workforce management, forecasting,
Hmm.
capacity planning, and scheduling. I think that
Yeah.
one would also deserves a special episode
Special. Totally. Yep.
because
Yep.
there's
And
so much there, and it's I mean I think there's probably feels like there's been more development and more work put into FCS than just about any other
mhm.
part of the platform in the last year. Really, a
We
lot of
never
lot
we
of
I mean, the
focus.
fact of the fact of how quickly we've built that,
Yeah.
right? I mean, is phenomenal, to be honest, right? I
And the
mean,
traditional players in the market that we're being compared against, I mean, they've
yeah,
got 20, 30 years of development.
yeah,
And
easily.
yeah,
Yes,
and
totally,
they're good
100%.
platforms. I don't
Yeah.
denigrate them. We
No,
integrate with them still.
not at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great
Well,
platforms.
this has always been one of the the aspects of when we think about how we build products, within Connect and AWS, it's not about necessarily repeating what you
Sure.
know
Yeah.
other partners have done,
And I
right?
think
We
that's why we
often,
took so
yeah,
long to get to forecasting, capacity
yeah,
planning, and scheduling.
yes,
Is it was like, well,
100%.
can we really improve on what they're doing? Are they?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So that has definitely been, I think, one of our absolute key differentiators here in terms of thinking differently, right, around how we've approached solving what are often, similar, set of customer problems, right? Because we've had the advantage of time,
yeah.
right, and technology, and we're leveraging that to our best advantage.
Yep. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then just some of the communication channels, WhatsApp native integration. I mean, obviously
Yep.
you could do it before, but just making it easier for our
Yeah.
customers to do it.
Totally.
Um,
And I'll
and then
add, like I talked about earlier, about that's SEC, right? In terms of that, we support, now that you have that native chat capability available in Salesforce, the WhatsApp works right out of the box,
yep,
right?
that's it.
So that's one of the biggest questions I get is like, does it support all the channels? Yes, it does.
Yes, it
Right.
does.
So,
Yep.
yep. So again,
It's just
that's what
getting out of our customers'
reduces.
way.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Reducing, any of that custom development work that our customers have to do around it for sure.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that's something I still get in the market where I still get that old FUD coming around where people say, well, it's, very much a build platform, isn't it? And
Yeah.
I'm quite confident now in challenging people and saying,
Yes.
name me one thing that you have to build.
Right.
What you
Yes.
want to do that you have to build. Just like
Right. Hmm.
it's such a criticism from 6 or 7 years ago, really.
Well, and
Um,
I'll tell you, on the product side, we've worked super hard, right,
I can
around
tell.
trying
Like
to
it's
right
clearly been the
to improve
focus.
that. Yes, it's
Yeah.
been a huge focus for us, and it's a reason, we're in the leaders quadrant, right? With for example, with Gartner, right?
Yeah.
It's
Fastest
because
to get there.
if
Fastest to
we were
get there.
still a builders platform, we wouldn't be in that leaders quadrant,
Yeah,
to be honest,
that's
right?
exactly right.
Yeah.
And it's always worth keeping in mind that coming full circle back to the beginning of the conversation, that Gartner quadrant is also based on information from maybe a year ago when they did their
Right.
assessment.
Yeah. No. Exactly.
Like we've
Exactly. Right.
released
Yes.
210 features, 211 features
Yes.
since then. Like that's
Yes.
the
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. And
And the last thing, and again, I think maybe we want to get in my old mate John Dunn, former
mm.
Australian, now American, because this is his pet topic. But the ability to have voice integration to allow
Mhm.
contact lens to be used across other platforms, or
Right.
indeed
Hmm.
for
Hmm. Yeah.
to integrate
Yeah,
into other solutions as a sort of an interim step as you migrate.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, because that's, I mean, contact lens is super powerful, right? And that's a great way to start to begin your journey, right? In
Yeah,
terms of moving from, you know, another contact center platform to Connect, right? To
yeah,
see that value, to take, to use something like contact lenses to immediately see that value, and then you can only imagine if you were to, adopt Connect, at a larger scale, like then you really start to see the benefits on top of
yeah,
that, right? So
yeah.
yeah, it's a great offering from that perspective.
Okay, well, I think we'll wrap it up there, and
Yeah,
because I mean we had a lot of ground to cover there in terms we needed to kind of overview
we did.
a
Yes.
lot of the sort of general stuff that's happened in the
Totally.
last year, and that
Well,
we
and
can get
and yeah, and I think we got more to do, right? Like this is just, we're
well.
just trying to keep this like bite size for everybody, right? So, we could probably go for
I've already
3 hours.
identified. I've got a note for FCS, voice connector, SCCAC.
Yeah.
Look, I think reporting and analytics really deserves its own
Yep.
deep
Yep.
dive, and we can keep going.
Totally.
And then, of course, flows. Flows is something where people don't even understand just how
Yeah. Yep.
important that is when it comes to what you can do with. I mean, yeah,
Yes.
uh,
Yes. Yeah. I
yeah. I
think we
won't
could
even.
we could just say like best practices. What are, what I mean? Like we could probably just spend a whole episode on like, getting good understanding of all the capabilities, but then also like, hey, what works really well, right? Like when you're designing your contact center.
That's it. Oh, well, that's yes. Let's not even just talk
Yeah.
about the tool itself. Like, what do we?
Yeah.
Yeah. How can
Yeah.
we think about what we're actually trying to achieve here? All right, Mark. It's
Eh,
been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Same. And actually, one other thing, Doug, like
Oh
we
yeah.
should also, people like listening to this podcast, right? Tell us what you want to hear,
Of
right? Like
course.
I think that's super important, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
let's,
yeah. I don't know
we're
what
both on
communication
LinkedIn.
channel. I'll have to set up
LinkedIn.
a
I know what set
mechanism.
up some feedback. Let's set up a feedback
Yeah,
page.
yeah,
We'll figure it out. We'll do
yeah,
something.
yeah.
We'll let everybody know. But we're both on LinkedIn too. So
Absolutely.
whatever channel you can find us on,
And
feel
as
free to
as you
send
can
back your
tell, we
feedback.
both love chatting. So
That's right.
we're
Exactly.
all right, mate. See you later.
All
See you
right.
on the
See you,
next one.
Doug.
Okay,
All
bye.
right. Same. Bye now.